Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today guests are two professors. Ken Regan, welcome to the show,
Thank you very much for having me on.
and Dan Fleetwood, welcome to the show as well.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Ken.
Well,
Happy to be back after some travel and some really nasty winter weather.
Thank you, and we're really glad to have you. And Ken, we will continue with Vikandze tournament.
yes, last week I did not show any games by the winners. There was so much interesting chess played by other people. But so let's go and do that. And actually, I began last week with a rundown of great moments, important moments. And arguably the most important one, I completely left out. So tell me when you see a position around move 30
Yes.
from the winner, Norbek Abdusattorov, against the world champion, Domaraju Gukesh, who had a rough ride. And this game was very much indicative of that. So I'm picking it up. It's been a fight. Black actually has a small advantage, but Black also has maybe a little more exposure than White. Well, it's hard to tell. Black's king is actually quite well defended, despite the open lines against it. This actually, this looks like one of those curling situations where there are a lot of stones in the house. Black looks set up for a breakthrough on the D file, but no breakthrough on the D file is going to happen. So anyway, so Black, so Gukesh plays some good moves. Try to clarify the situation on the king side, and maybe take over the initiative there. But White is also able to open lines. Okay, so now the center is more open, and White makes very good use of the fact that Black has to play en passant to pull off what is almost a curling maneuver, namely forcing Black to play a guard stone so that your shooter can nestle behind it and be out of harm's way. And now White has the H file for operations. Okay, so still actually there's nothing wrong with Black's position. Black also temporarily at least has an extra pawn for his troubles, but here we go. We're trying the penetration via the D file. It maybe, however, falls in with White's plan to expand in the center. Black tries to firm up his castle, but here comes White's attack in the center. Still nothing wrong with Black's position, but Black has to come up with some accurate moves and defend. So Rook H6, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, prudent would be for Black to exchange queens, but that would let White's rooks into the game with the better activity. So Black therefore invites White to exchange queens, which would straighten out the pawns, and indeed, or Black might recapture with the rook. But Gukesh played Queen F5, and now, Abdusattorov played Queen F5, and drum roll. There are many moves Black can play to hold equality, even the mentally consistent Queen B2, which makes some counter threats. But not in time pressure. With 8 minutes left, Gukesh used a little under half his time and uncorked the move Rook G5.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's just extraordinary.
And he's just completely oblivious until after he plays the move, he realizes it. And this just simply wins the rook with check, and the rest of the house will follow.
I think he must have just seen the wrong position on the board. I mean, I've had that happen occasionally in my games. I see a position 2 moves later and just completely overlook something like that. It had to have been a hallucination.
Yeah, sometimes I've done that. I blundered into things where it was at the next move that the oversight was, but I was too far gone. Here, Gukesh was not too far gone. I mean, there are many sensible moves that hold the position dead even. So even just taking on E5 is maybe the simplest one.
Yeah, it was just really a sad moment. I mean, they showed online, his reaction, and of course, he just collapsed, and and why wouldn't you?
However, I want to show Norbek Abdusadarov earning his victory, and he did. So he shot out to the lead. So you can see his arc of games here when I click. He shot out. He had 4 wins and 3 draws. Undefeated 5.5, 1.5 at the start. But then he lost a game and was slowed down by drawing some of the mid-pack players. So after 11 rounds, there were lots of people just half a point behind, including Hans Niemann, who could have caught him. And chief among those pursuers were Matthias Bluebaum, who himself had an up-and-down tournament. He was mid-pack most of the ways, then 2 wins powered him into contention, but he lost this game to Norbek. I'm showing the final position. Let's now, wait, how can I? That's weird. If I X this, okay, here we go. Okay, so this game has a very elegant resolution to it. So Norbek is white, facing a he had 7 out of 12 going into this, and Bluebaum at 6.5. Okay, so well-known lines, I'm sure. Black decides not to get frisky with G5, which may be just bad in that position. So we're going to set up a kind of Lasker defense situation. White stops it. Maybe knight e4 does not work here. So Bluebaum contents himself with knight f8 and knight e6. Okay, this is fine for black. White has the normal, usual slight pull out of the opening, but there's nothing structurally wrong with black's position. Now there's a little bit of a battle in the center that Bluebaum misjudges. Okay, so the right path, interestingly enough, is to continue to vie for the e4 square with knight g5. Okay, and then after f4, black gets a little bit of a thorn in white's position. There are pins on the e file, so white won't be able to simply win a pawn on e4. And play can actually get very exciting from this timeout. But Bluebaum instead opted to resolve the tension, and maybe underestimating the play that he would be able to get against white's position. Well, this wasn't the reason that he lost, though. So what he clearly saw was that he would be able to drive white's bishop off the e4 square and contend for the light squares in that way. Now, interestingly enough, right now, this is Stockfish 18. So this is the new Stockfish 18, and it's showing different stuff from what Stockfish 17 did when I looked over the game the first time. So maybe, Dan, you can weigh in on this. It was a nostrum on the internet, I think, that this move was not necessary and that it would have been stronger for white to reserve that check and play bishop f5 right away. But at the moment, the new Stockfish 18 isn't caring. So anyway, gave this check, and then played b4. Okay, and now we get this situation instead of white's bishop coming back to f5. So bishop f5 was the move the commentators thought white should have played to keep a fairly substantial edge. So now we're going to get more of a skirmish. Okay, and black decides to finger the weakness on c5, which white has to jettison with check. But white still has other center pawns. And now the issue is, can white build up a simple blockade on d4 when, despite a pawn deficit, the blockade in the center and the kingside pawns coming through will promise white a substantial attacking advantage. Okay, well, bishop d7. Then we play more skirmish. Black is trying to put pressure on white's queen side. Okay. So they actually jockey for position. And now white plays the blockade idea. So how is black going to react against it? The reaction is to try to undermine white's center head on. Okay, now there are all sorts of basic tactics in this position. White's rooks have the open files. So um, the computer says black is actually equalized, that white maybe was a little slow about going things. I would say the more prudent move for black to make would be rook c8, but you have to calculate. White's going to play queen takes b7, rook takes f7. Anyway, rook takes e5 is not bad. And now I'm sure what black saw is that he could bring the knight in, but there's a weakness in here. White can capture that knight and expose black's pawn. So white sets up for that. And now comes the losing move in the game. So again, rook c8 is the best move. But Notabek, white is threatening to capture on f6 and then capture on d7. So it's a question of should black evaluate that or ignore it? And this probably takes a lot of analysis. So what if white captures here? Okay, well, it turns out this is okay for black, but it's a little tricky to analyze here. Wait, we take it. Why aren't we simply winning a bishop here? Well, black has a lot of pawn. Oh no, losing a rook. Okay, so so it takes some calculation. Anyway, the problem with this move was that white now gets the initiative, and it exposes that black can't guard d7 and e5 at the same time. So black plays queen c4. Now the capture on f6, and the queen pivots. And now look, check and take the rook and e5. It's mate. Everything leaks are spreading all over. So black played queen g5. And the way white winds up this game is very elegant. So we've got two pieces for a rook and an attack. So it's definitely winning. But black gets a little bit of counterplay because white has to play g3. Okay, so now this is very elegant. The fact that white's knight captures the rook and that comes back and guards the queen, and black can't capture the knight with either the pawn or the queen because of pins or in queen takes f6. So all black can do is capture the queen. Now black still has two pawns for the piece and threat of maybe getting rid of the a pawn and being able to hunker on the king side. But white captures, and then this actually is again very elegant.
Oh.
White is just going to go for knight takes f6 and mate, and there's nothing black can do about it. So a nice smooth win by Abdusattorov, using his opportunity when he had it. So the other game by Abdusattorov was against the swashbuckling Arjun Erigaisi, who had a very tough tournament, but this was his chance to go out in a blaze of glory and take down the tournament leader when maybe I think there was one person who was still able to catch him in a tie. And for that purpose, Erigaisi turned the clock back almost 200 years and played the Evans Gambit.
Yeah, I cheered when I saw that. It's like, Yahoo.
Yahoo is right, and the opening is not bad for white. Okay, so Erigaisi didn't lose this game because of gambiting the pawn.
Yeah, the Evans Gambit is perfectly sound if white's happy to play for a draw.
Yeah. I guess I don't know what kind of drawn positions result, but I don't know. Are there ways black can lock this down better than what happened in this game?
I don't know this particular line, but black usually black equalizes relatively comfortably, but it's dynamic and double-edged, which is what you would want out of a gambit.
Right.
Similar to the last game. It wasn't that black's position was really bad. It was just that it was dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's actually what chess is about, is putting more danger on your opponent's side. And I'm beginning to appreciate the same thing about curling. So, The USA Canada match that was played earlier today, the Canadian women had a chance to force US to score one and tie, but they were just an inch off, and it left a position where the US was able to win by two. So it was a challenge, even though well, if a computer were shooting the stones, that would have been advantage Canada. So
With inception of chess boxing, I
Oh.
think the idea of having chess and curling united in the
that
same
would be a great
format
idea.
would be probably much more interesting.
Yeah, make your the question is, how many people do you have playing chess and how many sweeping with the brooms?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, there's nothing like putting two unwatchable sports together to make something more or less entertaining. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the question is it easier to teach a curling player to play chess or vice versa?
It's hard to pick up curling. I mean,
Yeah.
I think so. And the stones weigh 43 pounds. So
Yeah,
we have a curling rink though in downtown Buffalo that's very popular, publicly usable one. So
Mhm.
maybe I should try the game sometime. Some people do call it chess on ice. So
Yes,
and
exactly.
and the strategy sometimes is that intricate. So anyway, okay, so white's okay. I mean, it's not plus 0.4 the way you could get with a different opening, but it's not zero either. The game maybe is a little dry in terms of the pawn structure. Black has Black has an extra pawn which is about to disappear. Okay, but anyway, this actually at this moment now white does have the plus 0.35, and this actually this is the kind of position I like to play as white, especially when I play 1b3. I do have to watch my weak queen side pawns, but I've got open angles and a center preponderance toward black's king. So it's interesting to see how Abdusadarov handles that, and he handles it with a lot of patience. So it must be said, this is a very patient move, but it is eyeing the c5 square. The queen will come there and blockade any attempt by white to remove a weakness and expand on the queen side. And it also allows black's bishop to come out, although it's not clear exactly where the bishop's going to come out, because even the e6 square is uncomfortable and can be pushed with tempo. Okay, so white tries to make an asset out of the backward a2 pawn, and now the other point of queen e7 is that it again facilitates playing knight d7. If black's queen were on e6 in this position, then white would be able to think about f5 with tempo, then capture on d7, and then play f6, bone in black's throat. But white can't do that with tempo now that black's queen is on e7.
Now, Ken, remind me, at this stage in the tournament, was a draw enough for Abdusadarov to clinch, or did he need a win to guarantee clear first?
I'm pretty sure a draw was enough. Let me take a look, though, to see that. Oh, this is something else I have here. Where's my... I thought I had I can use this.
Oh, it's fine. We can check later.
I'm just going to, check the results. It's a good thing. Let's check the results. So the results were... in the end, Abdusadarov had 9. Yes, Sindarov.
8.5, right?
Yeah, 8.5. He
Yeah.
won in the last round. Yes, so that's true.
Right.
So Abdusadarov had only
So it
drawn.
still was a bit in flux.
What?
I said the result was still well in flux during this game. So that makes it, yeah.
You're right about that. Yeah, so it was important for Abdusadarov, to look. I mean, keep the draw in hand to assure at least the
Exactly.
but play for other results. However, Erigaisi also decided to play enterprisingly, keep the tension, and I don't know. I aesthetically like white's position, but the computer notes that black has made progress. Black now has something on the c5 square. A4 and E4 are under watch, and even black's bishop now looks a bit more alive, because whether it goes to E6 or G4, it can swing around and ultimately wind up on F7, which is a very good square for it. C6 is another very good square for the bishop. So anyway, so Erigaisi decided, therefore, to do something before black could resolve the position, but maybe Erigaisi, misevaluated what is going to happen after this lockdown move. Now white has to play very actively in order to stop black from establishing a total blockade. So this was white's idea, but it's black. Zadarov makes a very mature decision to realize that he can afford to shed the pawn. So a safer kind of move would be bishop e6 in this position. But then after bishop a3, white has pressure. Okay, so it's now white is, it's maybe not that white is threatening to do anything immediately, but black is constrained in this position. So the other thing that Abdusadarov, though, has to be aware of is in knight e6, if white captures and black were to capture with the bishop, then that would be allowing bishop a3, which isn't terrible yet.
Yeah.
You have to think about that as just a potential in the position. However, Erigaisi went for the glory, winning the pawn. And now how do we evaluate this position? Well, it's a very temporary pawn win, because black is able to win the f4 pawn. So a move like g4 just doesn't make sense, because knight takes f4, and white's position is now falling apart. White has no follow-up to that. So Erigaisi had to allow the f pawn to be recaptured simply like that. And now more skirmish in the center. If black had captured, then white would have eventually won something on c7. But okay, so we captured. Now we have a pure bishops of opposite color endgame. And there's actually a little bit of an echo here of the game between Lukashin or Dogmas, where white wound up with the queen on a8, and the point in the position was that black could sack an exchange and dominate on the light squares. That doesn't happen, though, because Erigaisi loses his way here. And he actually is also objectively worse. So it turns out the right way to fight is to try to get white's rooks to the center with rook e4 and somehow activate his bishop. It's really very much blocked. Played a very natural move, but a little too sing-song. And this exchange of rooks actually benefits black, because white's rook has more guard duty. So white can't exchange another pair of rooks. And besides, white's pawns are looser than black's. So white tries to activate the bishop and now plays rook e4, but you would have liked to have had another rook on the back rank doing this. And then comes now what arguably might be the losing moment, but it's very hard to defend this. And rook e3 just, wrong foots the rook, blocks the bishop, and puts the rook in the pin. And now black's pieces are all on their optimal squares, and the rest is actually cleanup. So this very nice move. Okay, so if queen takes e3 check, winning the bishop, so white has to guard the rook with the king. And now another very nice move. Okay, this is finishing with a flourish. Okay, not check, so you win the bishop, but white's king is in the crosshairs. So now there's going to be a death on the diagonals coming. And now this took a little bit of computation. Why is this a winning bishop's opposite colors endgame? Well, white's e5 pawn doesn't really mean much. It's a question of, can white defend both flanks? And in fact, white ceded the pawn to at least get some simplification on the right-hand side. But Now black has two connected passed pawns, and the ending is clear. Plus, even if it mattered, black has the right colored bishop on h1.
Yeah, the right bishop is always key in when you've got the rook pawn over there. You always want the right bishop on the board.
Yeah. So this position, Erigaisi gave up. So great win by Abdusattorov. We'll see him in the candidates.
Yeah.
I should show one game by Andy Woodward.
Okay.
He had a wonderful tournament.
Well, winning the Challengers tournament, and this was a game against the chief rival. Oro rocketed out to a 4-from-5 start, but then lost to Warradam and ran into Woodward in round 8. Woodward himself rocketed with 5 straight wins. So this actually made it 7 straight wins and a draw. Okay.
Woodward is a rising star, I'm pretty sure.
What's that?
He's a rising star of American chess, Woodward.
Yep, hasn't received as much of the fanfare internationally, I guess.
Yeah.
But certainly a solid 2600s player. So trying to mix it up with the Morphy Rui. But the fashion nowadays, so now we play it like a Giocco piano. So this still becomes a Giocco-like position.
It's very, very popular.
Yeah, it's very popular. Oro prefers to reserve the central advance with d3. Needs more time to build up with the rest of his pieces. Then we'll play for d4. Okay. So it's just popular, I guess. I don't know you what you know about this position. At least black isn't being tortured.
I know these positions very well from correspondence, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, it's dynamically equal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep, it's interesting what the strategy, because black's pieces look more aggressive. Black has a lead in development. So, what can black do, and why isn't black better in this position? White, is playing slow build-up moves. White's going to play knight d2, f1. So black has like 3 tempo moves to do something. Okay, well, we are going to shift our own knight to be able to come into the f-files socket. Rook e1. Okay. So now at least it looks a little more optically equal. White's bishop on c1 still isn't as good as black's bishop. And I was about to say, if black played c6, the pawns would look symmetrical. But Woodward now is able to, having rerouted the knight, is now free to make inroads in the center. And in fact, White's reaction should have been to simplify.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then do a d4 counter on his own, where hitting the bishop actually gives White a little bit of a step in doing that. Okay, instead, White decided to liquidate the bishop, but now it's black's move, and here we come, pawns abreast.
When black gets that kind of a position, all you know is that White lost the thread.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think D3 is just too slow in this kind of a position.
White's D3 way back.
Yeah.
This is too slow.
I think the lines with there's an A5 advanced line that's really interesting, but you have to know it. And the D4 lines are they're well known, but they're dynamically equal, and that's what you normally see. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So here we are.
Yeah. So black played c5, bishop c2, queen b6. Yeah. Now black is playing very logical moves. It's nice when logical moves are good, and now it's black who has half a pawn advantage. So White actually has to grovel a little, but gets the queen to a good square. Now maybe I think dynamically equal. So the computer's still showing an advantage to black. But question though, what can white do? It's still a little harder for white to undertake things than black. Taking on d5 allows black more pressure. So
I have to say these guys are playing this position a whole lot faster than I would, because there are so many ways to potentially, reorganize and shuffle pieces around. So
yeah, let's just note that the computer's top 3 moves are very diverse. Knight h5,
yeah,
one idea to come into f4. Rook b8 has another idea,
right.
e4, and queen b6. I'm not sure what the idea of that move is.
I don't know, maybe, who knows, but that's my point. I mean, I would spend 10 or 15 minutes just trying to figure out what in the heck to do.
Yeah, and you have 44 minutes left, half your no, actually a little less than half of your initial allotment of time. But anyway, black played d4 to lock up the position. And its funny thing is after the move is played. No, okay. I thought the computer liked it better after the move is played. Now black has better prospects on the d file. White has not accomplished anything yet. Black has accomplished a lot. So definite advantage black, and black is counting on the having more space on the queen side to be able to win any engagement that results. It's a little strange. None of the knights can participate in the action on the queen side anytime soon. White, this knight isn't really threatening to do that. I think white is really intending. Okay, but here we go.
White's just really in trouble here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Black is advancing on both wings. Okay. So trying to at least take over some space on the queen side, but now black's knight, black rerouted a knight into the game, and the other knight is actually important, and white's cavalry is just home. Okay, here we go. The other knight coming into the game. Black guards something. Black forced a weakness. Now white is going to whittle off another pair of rooks, or since white declines the trade of rooks, come down and finger that weakness on b2. And the dynamic of this position is white cannot defend b2 with any minor piece, because a knight could only defend it from d1, but a white knight can't get to d1. Okay. Because
and once again, we see the lingering weakness of d3.
Yeah.
They just choke the white position.
So white makes sure to be able to guard b2 with the rook and the queen, but this is very passive. White is now tied down. Only hope maybe is to counterattack against black's b pawn, but white gets only a moment's respite, and now things are falling. So bishop g4 at least, would have given white more chance to hold on. White tried winning back the pawn, but is losing too much on the king side in return. So now white's knight is cut off, white's rook is bound down. Only thing you can do is get white's other knight into the game. Black does not even have to hurry. Now comes the d pawn, and then this induced resignation, because if white captures, then black plays d2, and white's pieces are too far offside to manage.
That's
so
a very pretty ending.
Game played by Woodward.
Good game, very good game.
Yeah, very nice.
And there was the speed chess final. We won't mention that now. There was a very exciting match between Firouzja and Nakamura in the semis, which Firouzja won. But it came down to Firouzja and Carlsen in the end showed why he simply has class. Yet another title for Carlsen.
We have a new generation of chess players to defeat Carlsen in Blitz and repeat games. I think that the present generation is unable to do it simply because of the lack of talent. The Carlson just so much above everybody else, and all of them together. So it needs just a new generation of chess players to dethrone him, and it will happen sooner or later. How soon? I don't know. Maybe not too soon.
Yeah, beast. Yes, that's right.
He's a beast, really. Some tournaments.
Another Norwegian skier whom we saw going uphill on skis at a 6-minute mile pace. He can turn Clay
These are other things I don't understand.
right. Yeah. So
Yeah, okay, gentlemen. Thank you very much for today's program. I think we covered a lot of very interesting games and ideas. It's optically the game, like the last one was won by Black. It seems to me so easy. It's so natural, especially when you see the move was done like Rook A2. So you think, of course, I would play Rook A2. What else I would play? It was Rook A2. But to get to this position when you can make all this, not easy. Trust me, it's not easy. Well, however, we'll cover more games next week. Same place, same time. Have a great weekend, everybody.
okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay.
See you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Mhm.